They'll start with the Dublin game. So from the top, Minnesota 2-1 taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think it's all Minnesota in this one. The Vikings are top 10 in sacks, second in pressure rate, and Aaron Rodgers behind this Steelers offensive line. They've been getting after him a little bit. He didn't get sacked against New England, but the 2 games before that, the Jets got after him and the Seahawks got after him in week 2. So I think the Vikings, who are top 10 in sacks, second in pressure rate, they like to send a lot of simulated pressure as well. They made upgrades on the defensive line this offseason with Zach Allen. They got plenty of guys there from last year. Van Ginkel is banged up. He's questionable to play. But even if he doesn't play, I still think they'll be able to get after – I said Zach Allen, Jonathan Allen. They'll still be able to get after Aaron Rodgers. The Vikings pass rush is very good. The Steelers offensive line is garbage. Aaron is top 8 so far this season in hurries, in sacks, in QB hits through the first 3 weeks. So it hasn't been exactly easy for him to stand back there and spin the rock. Not to mention the Steelers' rushing offense has been the least efficient in the NFL, behind only the Bengals at 2.8 yards per carry. So I have a hard time seeing the Steelers' offense get anything going because in the passing game, I don't think Aaron will have a lot of time. And Isaiah Rodgers, I think he put up the highest PFF grade in the history of PFF last week in the first half alone. So the back end of this Vikings defense, if Isaiah Rodgers, if that wasn't just a one-off game, is pretty solid. And that has been the weakness of this Vikings defense is the passing game, or it's defense against the pass. Why can't I speak? Oh, I'm going to have an aneurysm. All right. But even so, the strength of this Vikings defense has been the front seven. And we saw Blake Cashman go down in week 2. And the Falcons were able to run the ball at will on this Vikings defense. We saw them be able to handle Chase Brown and the Bengals rushing attack last week. I think Chase Brown I don't even think he had 3 yards on the ground. So I'm not saying it's completely fixed without Blake Cashman, who's one of the most underrated off-ball linebackers in the NFL, but it has been the strength of this defense in the past. It was the strength of this defense last year, was the run defense. The Steelers are average 2.8 yards per carry. They don't have the guys to block this Vikings pass rush. That's without them even sending pressure. And I don't think the Steelers have the guys on the outside to get open fast enough before Aaron Rodgers is in trouble. So I think the Steelers offense is going to have a lot of trouble moving the ball. The Steelers defense, though, has been one of the worst in the NFL, especially against the run. And the Vikings are averaging 4.8 yards per carry. So I think the Steelers are in trouble. The Steelers open up in Dublin, excuse me. That's how we start our NFL Sunday. Vikings, Steelers. I think the Vikings are going to take care of business pretty handily. They have the guys on the defensive side of the ball to stop the Steelers rushing attack that's averaging 2.8 yards per carry, one of the least efficient running attacks in the NFL so far this season. They have the guys to get after the passer. Aaron Rodgers is top 10 in sacks, top 10 in QB hurries, top 10 in QB hits as well. So people have been getting after Aaron so far to start the season. And the Vikings pass rush is a top 5 unit in the NFL in terms of pressure rate. Defensively, the Steelers can't stop the run. Jordan Mason's coming off one of the best games of his career, his best game as a Viking, averaging 4.8 yards per carry on the season. And the Steelers are without Alex Highsmith, Deshaun Elliott, Joey Porter Jr., and Patrick Queen are all questionable. Not that it matters if Patrick Queen plays because he's been an absolute bum against the run. So the Steelers defense, which they'll be able to contain this Carson Wentz-led Vikings offense. I don't think they'll light them up, but I don't think the Steelers offense is going to be able to get anything going against this Vikings defense. So I love the Steelers to get their ass kicked by the Vikings in Dublin to open up our NFL Sunday. The Vikings just match up so good with a banged-up Steelers defense that has been putrid to start the year. They can't stop the run. And offensively, they can't protect Aaron Rodgers going against one of the league's best front sevens. Give me the Steelers all day long. I will say this, though. If the Steelers do want to win this game, it's going to have to come from Cam Hayward and then one of either Keanu Benton, Yaha Black, and Derek Harmon. Their young defensive tackle is going to have to ruin this game from the inside because Will Fries and Donovan Jackson, Ryan Kelly and Donovan Jackson, the starting center and the starting guard, are both questionable in this game. And TJ Watt is coming off of a 2-sack performance against the Patriots. So if the Steelers do want to win this game, it's going to have to be through creating turnovers from this defensive line, and just the D-line's going to have to wreck the game if they want to win this game, because I have a hard time seeing this offense get anything going against this Vikings defense. I will be picking every game again, so I don't know if for Thursday Night Football, I'm taking the Seahawks, and I'll take the Vikings -2 on the spread for the 9 o'clock game on Sunday. Let's get into the 1 o'clocks. Commanders, Falcons. This is the hardest game for me to pick. I don't know what to think of the Falcons after their performance against the Panthers on Sunday, where I was so confident. I was like, the Falcons have been my team since the offseason. Like, they got better on the defensive side of the ball. They finally have a pass rush. And then after week 2, when they got after J.J. McCarthy, sacked him like 5 times, 6 times, whatever it was, with Jalen Walker, the guy they brought in from L.A., forget his name. My brain's a brain fog right now. Unacceptable. I need to freaking lock in. But Jalen Walker, James Pierce Jr., the 2 rookies they drafted, and the guy they brought from L.A., who's like a 10-sack guy, was there with Zach Robinson when Zach Robinson was in L.A. What the hell is that guy's name? Whatever it does. Leonard Floyd. They bring in these guys on the defensive side of the ball to get after the passer. They have 5 sacks against Minnesota in week 2, 6 sacks against Minnesota in week 2. The defense looks dominant. The offense looked very efficient as well. They were running the ball down Minnesota's throat. They're a way better run defense than Carolina is. Then we go to week 3, and they can't run the ball against the Carolina Panthers defense that last season was one of the worst run defenses historically. And now we can't get after Bryce Young. I don't think they sacked him a single time when they were without 2 of their starting offensive linemen on an already weak offensive line. Those are last week's Falcons game. It made no sense at all. And I think they are better than the way they played, than the performance they put on the field against Carolina. But this Commanders team, I don't know if Jaden Daniels is going to play. So this is what I'm going with Commanders Falcons. If Jaden Daniels plays, I will be taking the Commanders. If Jaden Daniels doesn't play, I will be taking the Falcons. The Commanders' run D has been pretty solid to start the year. They're averaging less than 4 yards per carry. And the Packers game is a good example of that because the Packers were trying to ice the game away late by running the ball with Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs averaged like 3.7 yards per carry. In that game, he only had 1 run greater of 10 yards. So the Commanders' run defense does look better than what it was last year. And I do think they have the guys on the back end now with Trey Amos, Mike Sanders still, Marshawn Lattimore to keep up with these Atlanta playmakers. It's really just Drake London. Kyle Pitts has been actually pretty decent this season for Kyle Pitts' standards, but Darnell Mooney and Michael Penix were not on the same page over the last 2 weeks. So I think they'll be able to handle this passing game if they can stop Bijan in the running game. And then it's like, how much do you trust Michael Penix now after what we saw from him in week 3 to perform if the running game doesn't get going? So I think the Commanders defense can slow down the Falcons offense, but I also think that, like, this, it's not the Raiders. Marcus Mariota is not playing the Raiders, but I do like this Commanders defense. They have one of the best run games in the NFL for the first 3 weeks. It's just very efficient, over 5 yards a carry. So I like the Commanders if Jaden Daniels plays because I think the Falcons are going to be able to put up more points and more of a fight than the Raiders did, where Mariota can't just put it in cruise control. So if Jaden plays, I like the Commanders. If Jaden doesn't play, I like the Falcons. It's also freaking me out that it's only like a 2-point spread, because the Commanders should be like 4.5, 5-point favorites. So that freaks me out as well. This game is, I'm probably not going to touch this game, honestly. I'm staying away. But if I had to, it's all dependent on if Jaden Daniels plays. Saints 0-3 at the Bills 3-0. Let's not waste anybody's time here. You take the Bills. The Bills win and they cover this huge total. They're one of the worst defenses in the NFL versus the number 4 scoring offense in the league and the number 2 scoring offense in the league from a season ago. Josh Allen versus Spencer Rattler as the quarterback matchup. And the Bills, I feel like over the last 3-4 seasons, once Josh Allen established himself as elite quarterback, they just blow out bad teams. And the Saints are a bad team. I was trying to think, like, how could the Saints even make this a game? They really can't. Like, their run game is bad. Their offensive line isn't horrible. Their passing offense has looked decent at times. It just drops everywhere. But the Bills' pass defense has been solid this season. So I can't even, I don't see a world where the Saints win this game. Like, I thought about putting my entire bank account on just Bills' money line, but it would only make me, like, I don't know, like less than 5% ROI. So, but like, this is a game, like, I would bet my life the Bills win this game. That's how, like, but and I'm going to bet them to cover 15.5, but like, that's just a huge total to be laying down. Lions 2-1 at Cleveland, who are 1-2, coming off of a big win against the Green Bay Packers. Everybody is going to want to take the Cleveland Browns, especially since the Lions are 9.5-point favorites. You got to take the Lions in this game. Number 2 defense in yards per play versus the number 2 offense in yards per play. The Browns are still a bad team, though, and the Lions rout bad teams. especially at home. The Lions had an average win margin of 13 points at home last year. They were 7-2. And against teams that picked in the top 10 in the draft last season, I still think the Browns are going to be picking within the top 10, despite how good that defense has looked. I think it's due for a little bit of regression. But against teams that picked in the top 10 in the draft last season, the Lions had an average point difference at home against those teams of 29 points. The Lions trash on bad teams, especially at home. The Browns are a bad team, and the Browns defense has been great to start the season. You can't deny that. That's objective truth. But the Lions offense has been better. Jared Goff has had 2.6 seconds in the pocket to throw the football. He's the only quarterback to start 3 games with more time in the pocket so far has been Geno Smith. So that offensive line, we saw Frank Ragnow leave, Kevin Zeitler leave. We're like, all right, there might be some issues. The offensive line is fine. They just played the Packers week 1. The Lions offense is averaging the second most yards per play in the league. They're top 3 in passing yards per play. They're top 10 in rushing yards per play. And if any offense has the guys to contain Myles Garrett, Mason Graham now, and this Cleveland Browns defensive line, it is the Detroit Lions. I think this offense will take care of this defense, and I think this defense is going to mutilate and just destroy this Browns offense. I don't think they score more than 10 points, and I think I'd be hard. I don't see a world where this Lions offense has a type of performance where they had week 1 again for the rest of the season, where they don't put up at least 20 points. So I think the Browns are in trouble. I think you take the Lions minus 9.5 at home. I will be betting on Cleveland to cover a lot when they are home. Actually, let me make sure. Yeah, this is in Detroit. So once Cleveland's home, I think they'll be spread hunters. But on the road against this Detroit team, I don't think they stand a chance. So give me the Lions at 9.5. The Browns pass catchers also just aren't inadequate compared to the guys on the back end of the Lions secondary. And that's not even crazy glaze for the Lions secondary guys, because Terrion Arnold has not looked great. DJ Reed's a solid player. Obviously, Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph are elite. But where Joe Flacco, the reason he hasn't getting sacked so much is because he gets that ball out fast, man. And he gets that ball out fast to Harold Fannin Jr. and David Njoku in the short passing game over the middle of the field. Well, the Lions have 2 of the best guys fit for covering the tight end position. That is Jack Campbell, who's one of the best PFF-graded coverage linebackers last year, and then obviously Brian Branch is a stud as well. So the Lions match up well defensively with a bad Browns offense, and I think the Lions offense is just too good for this Browns defense to contain. So yeah, I like the Lions all day. And the Lions pass defense has been suspect, but Flacco won't have time for his receivers to get open down the field for him to be able to stretch the ball. He's been getting the ball out fast. We haven't seen a lot of Flacco moon balls, and I think that's by design, because if he has to stand in there, he's going to get whacked because that offensive line is not very good. So they've kept them upright. I think it's a lot of Flacco getting the ball out fast and the offensive line being better than I thought they would be. Anyway, Panthers at Patriots. The Panthers have outscored opponents in the last 6 quarters, 49-7, but the Patriots are 5.5-point favorites, and they're a team that just can't seem to get out of their own way. This is pretty simple. If Christian Gonzalez plays, you take the Patriots. If Christian Gonzalez doesn't play, you take the Panthers, because Ted McMillan is this Panthers offense, and Christian Gonzalez has the ability to lock that guy down. So if Christian Gonzalez plays, take the Patriots. If he doesn't play, you take the Panthers. The Patriots have allowed the 4th most passing yards in the NFL on the 22nd most pass attempts. The 4th most yards, 22nd most pass attempts. So teams aren't even throwing the ball that often on the Patriots, but they're throwing it so efficiently. 3rd most passing yards per attempt allowed in the league, the 3rd highest completion percentage, the 4th fewest passes defended. This Patriots defense is going to be bad until Christian Gonzalez comes back, and I do think he makes that big of an impact, because he is one of the few guys in the NFL that I think has the ability. I don't know if they'll use him this way, but he can shadow a number 1 receiver, and that just alleviates so much pressure off of the rest of the defense, where they can key in on other concepts that offenses try to run. And I think he is that impactful of a player. So they need to get Gonzo back, and I think they will see improvement in the back end of that defense. But the Panthers have one of the worst offenses in the NFL. It has gone significantly better over the last game and a half, but it's just like, it's the Panthers. So if Christian Gonzalez plays, you take the Patriots. If he doesn't, you take the Panthers. I think that's a good rule to live by going into this game. Drake May and Bryce Young are very similar, where you see some stuff that's like, okay, yes, particularly the way Bryce played in the second half of the Arizona Cardinals game, but it was basically garbage time, so I don't hold too much stock into that. And that's the thing with Drake May too so far in his career. He showed a lot of flashes, but it's when he's down 3 touchdowns. So they're very similar in that aspect. The Pats O-line sucks, but good news for the Pats. The Panthers have 1 sack on the year, and they have a 7.5% pressure rate, lowest in the league by 10 percentage points. So Patriots, I think, are going to cover the spread regardless, low-key, but I don't know. If Gonzo plays, for sure take the Patriots. If Gonzo doesn't play, I would wait. I would think about it a little bit more. Depending what the line will move to if Gonzo doesn't play. If it stays around 5.5, that's a tough – they did a good job with the line. I'll give Vegas the flowers there because I think it'll be like I don't know. I think this is a good line. I think it's about 6. I think the Panthers could cover that. I think the Panthers cover that with no Gonzalez. I do. Because Ted McMillan's been their whole offense, especially in the passing game. So we will see. The Patriots are mid against the run. The Panthers are mid at running the football. So I don't like maybe Chuba Hubbard can be an X factor in this game. I don't think it's I don't know. I didn't really think about the run game too much. I will now that I'm thinking about it. I didn't think about the run game. I don't think it's that much of a factor in this game. Well, let's think about this. I think the Patriots are pretty good up the middle. The Panthers lost Robert Hunt. I'm pretty sure they lost their center too, or another interior offensive lineman. So I don't know if they'll be able to run the ball well against like Milton Williams, Robert Spillane and company. So I give that edge to the Patriots. As far as the Panthers' run game, it's been one of the worst run defenses in the NFL for the past few seasons. Derek Brown is back, but I don't. They're still average. I think they're still bottom 10 against the run. So I think the Patriots should be able to run the ball pretty well too. And Ramondre Stevenson, even though he has the fumble problems, he's been pretty efficient in terms of yards per touch. I don't know if a lot of it's came in the passing game, so I don't know how they've been running the football, quite frankly. But I'm not going to look it up. I don't really care that much. This game will be on the smallest screen in my setup with no sound, and I will vaguely be peeking over from time to time. Okay, Chargers, Giants. Let me take a sip of water because I love the Giants in this game. Love the Giants. All right, my favorite underdog pick for Week 4 of the NFL is the New York Giants. They're going to cover 6.5. The Chargers are traveling to East Rutherford, number 1, so that is a lot of air miles for this Chargers team to travel. Let me regroup here because this is Clip Farm territory. We're in Clip Farm season here, so let me regroup. Let me read my notes. Fuck, this is bad podcasting. I'm sorry. Where are my computer's lagging, bro? Are you kidding me? I need to get to my numbers. Okay, all right, I got it. All right, my favorite upset for Week 4 is the New York Giants against the L.A. Chargers. The Chargers are traveling from L.A. to East Rutherford. That's a lot of air miles to take on a Giants pass rush that is going to absolutely get after Justin Herbert. Herbert got sacked 5 times against the Broncos, and they have 3 starters on this offensive line questionable. Trey Pipkins, Bradley Bozeman, and Mekhi Becton. The whole right side of the offensive line is questionable. There isn't a guy after Trey Pipkins because he is the backup right tackle. So they lack depth at the tackle position. All 3 of those guys are questionable. And you've got Brian Burns, Abdul Carter, Dexter Lawrence, and Kayvon Thibodeau staring you down the neck. I think this Giants team is in a good upset spot here, especially with the backup quarterback, rookie quarterback jolt you're going to get. They're going to get a burst of enthusiasm and morale for this whole Giants football team. And as good as the Chargers defense has been, they're allowing 5 yards on the ground. If you watch Cam Scadaboo against the Chiefs, he was their entire offense. I think they will be very efficient running the football. They'll keep Justin Herbert off the field. And when Justin Herbert is on the field, I think this Giants pass rush will finally have that breakout performance and be that pass rush that we were all expecting it to be going into the season, because they are bottom half in the NFL so far in pressure percentage. So I think this is the game, especially with all the question marks and all the questionable injury players on that was bad English, but you get what I'm saying. All the question marks at who's going to play on that Chargers offensive line that's already been beat up this season. I think this is where this Giants pass rush pins its ears back. Maybe they play with a lead if they can get Cam Scatterbo going against the Chargers defense that isn't that good against the run, plus the jolt they're going to get from Jackson Dart being in there instead of Russell Wilson. He can also bring an aspect of this offense with his legs that Russell Wilson wasn't able to bring. And we saw this offense at its peak with Daniel Jones is when he was using his legs. He had like 700 yards rushing the year they made the playoffs. So I think the Giants, big upset spot here, sprinkle the money line against the Chargers in East Rutherford on Sunday. And some player props I like for that game also are Cam Scatterbo over 54.5 rushing yards. And my favorite player prop of this NFL Sunday is Jackson Dart over 31.5 rushing yards. Very, very slept on mobility. And he's not afraid to lower the shoulder either. So he's going to fight for every single yard when he's toting the rock. And Daniel Jones averaged over 35 rushing yards per game in his last 3 seasons as a starter in New York. Brian Daboll comes from Buffalo, where he had a very mobile quarterback in Josh Allen, who a lot of design runs for him, especially early in Josh's career. I think Brian Daboll's coaching for his job. He's going to be in his bag with some of the play calls. I think this is a great spot for not only the Giants to maybe upset the Chargers, but for Jackson Dart to go over 31.5 rushing yards. Plus, if things break down, rookie quarterbacks tend to get quick to put their head down and go. And Jackson Dart, very underrated mobility. Plus, I think there will be some designed runs in this football game, in this game plan. So Dart over 31.5 rushing yards as well as my favorite player prop on the weekend. Titans at Texans. The Titans 0-3 at the Texans, who are also 0-3. The Texans offense has shown me nothing. They're 7.5-point favorites. The Texans offense has shown me nothing where I can believe they have enough to score enough points to cover more than a touchdown spread, right? Texans defense, though, has been solid. Top 5 in scoring, top 10 in yards per year. Let me get a sip of water. As bad as the Texans offense has been, this Texans defense has still been pretty solid. Top 5 in scoring, top 10 in yards per play, top 10 in sacks, top 10 in completion percentage allowed. So the defense has been solid, but it hasn't quite been elite to the level we expected it to be coming into the season. It's still been very good, but it hasn't quite been elite. This is the week where we see an elite performance against a Titans offense that has looked horrible. Cam Ward has been sacked the most in the NFL. The Titans are second in the NFL in drop passes with 8. They don't have the guys in this Titans offense to get open on the guys in the Texans secondary with Derek Stingley and company. They don't have the guys on the offensive line to block the Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson Jr. I love all the unders for the Titans offense in this game, and I think the Texans are going to get after Cam Ward. They're going to stop the run, Tony Pollard. There's not going to be any semblance of an offense in this game for Tennessee, and I think the Texans will finally just get a win in the win column and blow out the Tennessee Titans. They win and they cover 7.5. All right, the marquee matchup of the 1 o'clock slate, Eagles-Bucks. I bet against the Eagles 2 weeks in a row, boys. 2 weeks in a row. Travis Kelce dropped touchdown, led to an interception. That cost the game. And then last week, blocked fucking field goal return for a touchdown by the fattest fuck on the team. Are you kidding me? Excuse my language. I'm doing it again. Give me the Tampa Bay Buccaneers plus 3.5. The Bucks are getting some guys back. They also lost some guys. They lost Mike Evans. They lost Luke Gadecki. But Chris Godwin's a full participant in practice. Tristan Wirfs was limited, but he was listed as a starting left tackle on the depth chart. This Titans beat reporter said he's likely to play. The Bucks pass defense is very suspect, but the run D is solid. Under 4 yards per carry, 6th in the NFL against the run. If they can contain Saquon and keep everything in front of them with Jalen Hurts, because their pass defense is not very good. Let's be straight up. And Jalen Hurts in this passing attack looked elite in the second half of that Rams game. Hopefully Kevin Patullo gets more aggressive with his play calling. And, let's get A.J. Brown the ball, I think. Maybe he thinks that's a good idea. That usually leads to pretty productive offense. So I think this Eagles passing attack will be in full display against a pretty mediocre, at best mediocre, Bucks pass defense, and their pass rush has not been very good, especially against this Eagles offensive line. I think Jalen Hurts will have plenty of time. So they'll be able to move the ball well. You got to bend, not break. Don't let him get within 5 yards. Keep him to field goals. Keep Jake Elliott. Make sure Jake Elliott's a busy man, because I don't think this Eagles offense will have trouble moving the ball. You got to bend, not break here if you're Tampa Bay. But I will say this. Offensively, I think the Bucks, especially if Wirfs and Godwin play, they'll move the ball with ease on this Eagles defense. The Eagles' defense so far to start the year has been very underwhelming. 6th in yards per play, 15th in scoring, 27th in yards per carry, 14th in yards per pass attempt, bottom half of the league in pressure rate, 29th in the league in sacks. So this Eagles pass rush, by the way, where is it? Only 3 sacks, and the only teams with less sacks than them are the Panthers and the Titans. So they got a pretty good offense coming to town, especially if they're getting Chris Godwin and Tristan Wirfs back. I think this Bucs offense is going to be able to move the ball with ease against this Eagles defense that doesn't have any pass rush, and their cornerback too is not very good at all in Adoree Jackson. You got Emeka Egbuka and Chris Godwin. With Sterling Shepard, who's been a serviceable chain mover at times for this Tampa Bay team. He's come up and had some clutch catches. So this Bucs offense is going to be able to move the ball. I think this Eagles offense is going to be able to move the ball just as well. So I like the over in this game, and I like the Bucs to cover the spread against the Eagles. It's currently at 3.5, which is a great spread to take if you're taking plus the points because they can lose by a field goal and you still win. The way the Eagles have won over the last 2 weeks, it's not sustainable. Hall of Fame tight end drops a touchdown. That's not completely like luck, but I don't want to say it's luck either, but it's just not sustainable the way they've been winning games with Hall of Fame tight end dropping a touchdown leads to an interception. Eagles capitalize because they're a great team. That's what great teams do. They capitalize on mistakes. They go and score a touchdown. Then you have not one, but 2 blocked field goals against the Rams. One of them returned for a touchdown. That's not sustainable, and the Bucs do have their number a little bit recently. They beat them the last 2 times they played. Baker's playing great football. I don't know if the Bucs will win, but I think they'll keep it close. They'll cover 3.5, and that game is going over. Okay, we'll take a break. If you're watching on YouTube, we'll come back. I'll be in a different shirt, and we will be talking about the 4 o'clock slate and the Sunday night football game. This video is brought to you by PropsBot.ai. If you're placing bets this NFL Sunday, prop bets, this website, this app, PropsBot.ai, will tell you, it takes into account every single possible metric you could think of, and it puts it all into this AI algorithm, and it comes together with a confidence score of 1 through 9, or 1 through 10, or 0 to 1, obviously 1 being the highest, 0 being the lowest. The last time I used it for Monday Night Football, because I'm recording this on Thursday, so I haven't used it for Thursday Night Football yet, but for Monday Night Football, it went 2 for 3 with the 3 highest confidence scores. Use code DSOC. You get a week free. Everything you need to know for any prop bet you ever want to place and what the best prop bets are for every single game for your NFL Sunday is on this app. Use code DSOC. Get a week for free, and then if you don't like it, if you don't want to use it, you can just cancel it before they charge anything on your card. So use code DSOC. Please help me out. Literally, dude, just use it and then fucking cancel your subscription right away. It's not that hard. And I don't know, don't even do that. Use it and then look at it. And even if you don't want to continue, because if you don't want to pay the money for it, fine. But it's still a week of free winners. Let's get into the 4 o'clock. Okay, let's get into the 4 o'clock slate. Let's start off with Colts at Rams. The Rams are 3.5 point favorites, and I broke this game down in every which way. I analyzed every single aspect, every single possible outcome, every single matchup, and the bottom line is this. The Rams' defensive line has a better chance to disrupt Daniel Jones and this Colts offense than this Colts defensive line, and this Colts defense has a chance to disrupt Matthew Stafford and this Rams offense. Because as good as this Colts offense has been behind that stout offensive line that's one of the best in the NFL, this Rams offense is just a little bit better. Their offensive line has been solid. Matthew Stafford has been not under a lot of pressure at all. I have the stat right here. There we go. They're just sell the clip, Devin. Anyway, he's been sacked 5 times and only hurried twice, discounting the sacks. So teams aren't really getting after Matthew Stafford, and this Colts defensive line has not been exactly a world beater, to say the least. They're bottom 5 in pressure percentage, and they played 2 horrendous offensive lines so far this season in the Titans and the Dolphins. So they don't generate a lot of pressure. This Rams defense has been solid, top 5 against the pass, top 12 against the run, tied for the most sacks in the NFL. And the Eagles have a very similar offensive personnel as the Indianapolis Colts, and we saw in the second half once Kevin Patullo, I don't know what happened with the play calling in the second half.
people are saying Jalen Hurts took over the play calling, but it definitely got way more vertical, way more aggressive. And we saw how this Eagles passing attack was able to expose this this Rams secondary a little bit. So I do think the Colts will be able to move the ball more or move the ball on this Rams defense. But I don't think this Colts defense has a chance at stopping this Rams offense. This Colts defense has played the Titans and the Dolphins, two of the worst offensive lines in the NFL, but they have a bottom 5 pressure percentage. The Colts played 2 bottom 10 offenses and 2 bottom 3 offensive lines and have bottom 5 pressure percentage, and they're ranked about in the middle in almost every defensive metric, closer to the top half than anything. But this Colts defense has been playing well, but it's been playing well against bad opposition. And the one good offense that they did see was Bo Nix and the Broncos, and they moved the ball pretty well on this Colts defense. So I think the Rams will have no problem moving the ball on this Colts defense. I think this Colts offense will be able to move the ball on this Rams defense as well, but I trust this Rams front seven to disrupt Daniel Jones more than I trust this Colts front seven to disrupt Matthew Stafford. So for that reason, we are taking the Rams. We're taking the Rams minus the points as well. I think they're 3-point favorites as of Friday, so we're taking the Rams all day here. DeForest Buckner's also questionable, and then Braden Smith and Matt Goncalves, the two right tackle and right guard on this Colts offensive line, are also questionable. So they might have some injury concern in the trenches for the Indianapolis Colts. The Rams are healthier. The Rams are home as well, so they got to fly from Indianapolis to LA. I think that plays a factor as well. And I just think the Rams overall have a better roster. They have a better coach. They have a better quarterback, and they match up better with their defensive line going. This Colts offensive line is disgusting, by the way. So I don't think that they'll disrupt the game and they'll wreck the game. Like, I think the Colts will be able to hang around and move the ball on this Rams defense, but I don't think this Colts defense has a chance to stop this Rams defense. So we're taking the Rams minus 3.5. I like the over in this game as well. Let me take a sip and let me run it down from the top. So Colts Rams, during the 4:00 slate. Let's just run it back from the top here. You take the Rams against the Colts at 3.5. This Colts defense has looked good statistically over the first 3 weeks of the season, but they played the Titans and the Dolphins, two bottom 5 offenses in the NFL, two bottom 3 offensive lines in the NFL, and the Colts still have a bottom 5 pressure percentage. So they weren't able to generate that much pressure against the Titans and the Dolphins offenses. How are they going to generate a lot of pressure against Matthew Stafford? That's where I think the difference in this game is. I trust the Rams pass rush to get home more against the Colts offensive line than I trust the Colts defensive line to get home against the Rams offensive line. The only time the Colts really played a top tier, even if you want to call the Broncos offense a top tier offense, they allowed 28 points, and the only reason they won, not the only reason, but there was a leverage call that bailed them out a little bit. So I think 3.5 is not enough points. I think the Rams take care of this Colts team by at least a touchdown. If it was in Indianapolis, I might have a different tune going into this game, but I think the Rams just have too much. I think they'll be able to keep Matthew Stafford standing upright, and the Colts do not have the guys in the back end to keep up with Puka Nacua and Davante Adams. Nobody in the league has the guys in the back end to keep up with Puka Nacua and Davante Adams, and the Colts run defense is bottom 10 in yards per rush as well, so Kyren Williams and this Rams offensive line can get going. I think the Colts will be able to move the ball. I do think they'll be able to move the ball, but I just think the Rams defense has a better chance of stopping this Colts offense than this Colts offense has of stopping the Rams defense. Not to mention you got the better coach in Sean McVay and the better quarterback in Matthew Stafford. So take the Rams minus 3.5. Take the over 49.5 in this game as well. Ravens at Chiefs. This is another good one. I'm taking the Chiefs in this game. At plus 2.5. The Ravens' pass defense has been horrible. Xavier Worthy is back for the Chiefs, so I think that just causes a whole heck of problems for this Ravens defense, who has also been horrible against the run. I think Patrick Mahomes has actually played pretty good football, pretty great football up until this point. It's not like stats are going to blow you out of the water, but if you think about this Chiefs team to start the year, Travis Kelce dropped touchdown away from beating the defending champs. They lost to an undefeated Chargers team. They took care of the Giants pretty handedly, especially in the second half. Again, they have a very good pass rush as well. So this Chiefs offensive line is playing solid. Chiefs just don't have their guys. They get one of them back here in Xavier Worthy against the Ravens defense that has been very susceptible to the pass. They have the second worst pass defense in the NFL in terms of passing yards allowed. They're 12th in passing yards per attempt. So I think this Chiefs offense will get back on track. Not to mention the Ravens have one of the worst run defenses in the league also. Not that the Chiefs' rushing attack has been existent at all. I don't know if Mahomes led them in rushing. I don't think he led them in rushing against the Giants, but he led them in rushing the 2 previous weeks. So I think this Chiefs offense will be able to move the ball with ease. Patrick Mahomes is playing some great football right now, despite the 1-2 record. This Ravens offense will also be able to move the ball with ease as well, but I think it's a pick 'em, and you're going to give me the Chiefs at plus 2.5 points as a home underdog with the second greatest quarterback of all time. You take that all day. He's like 6-3 against the spread as an underdog, Patrick Mahomes, since he became the starter. So you take the Chiefs in this game, and which I think is going to be a shootout as well. You take the over because the Ravens offense, really, if it wasn't for turnovers, has been completely unstoppable. And by turnovers, I mean just Derrick Henry. Like they're 2 Derrick Henry fumbles away from being 3-0. So this Ravens team, not exactly 3-0, but they would have had pretty good against the Bills. I'm pretty sure they would have iced that game out. And then against the Lions, they had a good chance to go down and at least tie the game if Derrick Henry didn't fumble. So they don't turn the ball over. This Ravens offense has looked unstoppable. And this Chiefs offense is going to be it has looked very good at times as well. They get one of their best playmakers back. I also think Xavier Worthy's his receptions is at 4.5 right now. You smash that over. I think you could have a career high in receptions in this spot because we saw once he went down in week 1, Hollywood Brown stepped into Xavier Worthy's role as the main target, and he had like 10 catches. So the plan for Xavier Worthy going into week 1 before Travis Kelce sent him home was to get this guy the ball as often as possible. He's going to be in that Rashee Rice role until Rashee comes back, and that is a heavy volume role, a lot of volume, a lot of targets going to be going his way. I think Xavier Worthy could have a career high in receptions. So you take his total at 4.5, which I'm putting a unit on, and then I'm putting half units on his reception ladder all the way up to 10 catches, which would be a career high. And the odds you're getting at 10 catches is crazy. I think Mahomes is going to be looking his way a lot against a Ravens defense, a Ravens passing defense that's allowed the second most passing yards in the NFL this season. So take Xavier Worthy's receptions. And then if you're really confident, which I am, ladder his receptions with a half unit all the way up to 10. I think that'll be a real cash cow in the 4 o'clock window on Sunday. Yeah, I mean, this game's a pick 'em really. So I'm going to lean with the better quarterback and the underdog at home in a pick 'em for sure. If they're especially 2.5, and that number could go up by Sunday as well. So that's just the smart bet. This game could really go either way. And I feel more comfortable. But I don't like betting against either of these quarterbacks, but I feel more comfortable betting against Lamar than I do against Patrick Mahomes, especially as a home dog. Jaguars at Niners. If it's Purdy or Mac Jones, you take the 49ers here. The Jaguars defense looks good statistically. They're 7th in yards per play allowed, but it's fraudulent. They played the Bengals with Jake Browning, the Panthers, and the Texans. Literally 2 of the 3 worst offenses in the NFL through the first 3 weeks, and then all 3 of those offenses are bottom 10. And despite the 49ers injuries, their offensive line is fully healthy, and that is the strength of this Jacksonville Jaguars defense is the D-line and the pass rush. So a healthy 49ers O-line, I think, will be able to neutralize that a little bit. And if those guys aren't wrecking the game, they don't have the guys in the back end to be able to keep up with Juwan Jennings and especially Ricky Pearsall, who has looked absolutely unguardable this season. So I think this passing attack will be there. And then obviously you have CMC coming out of the backfield as well. He's a real weapon. He speaks for himself. So I think this Niners offense will be able to get going against this Jaguars defense with Mac Jones or with Brock Purdy. So I like the Niners in this spot. And the Jaguars got to fly all the way from Jacksonville to Santa Clara. So it's all Niners. You take them minus the points here. I'm not that much of a believer in this Jacksonville offense, who they lean on the running game a lot, but the 49ers have one of the best run defenses in the NFL. So I just think it's a bad matchup for Jacksonville. They have to fly across the country. I think Brock Purdy's a better quarterback than Trevor Lawrence. I think the offensive scheme is better. Even if Mac Jones is playing, though, I think he can give Trevor a run for his money, believe it or not. A little bit of a revenge game here for Mac Jones as well. So take the Niners -3. Bears, Raiders. This game's very tough to pick. The Raiders are 1.5 point favorites right now. I'm leaning Raiders because I figured the Bears would be favored more. It seems like a little bit of a Vegas trap spot here where a lot of people are going to be high on the Bears, especially after the way Caleb Williams just played. This Bears defense is allowing the most yards per play in the NFL. Geno had a tough game against the Chargers, but it was really special teams and the Raiders defense that let down Geno and this Raiders offense against the Commanders. The Bears are bottom 10 in the league in sacks. The Raiders offensive line, though, top 5 in the league in sack percentage allowed. So the amount of dropbacks that their offense allows a sack. The Raiders are top 5 in the bad way, in the worst way possible. So I don't know who wins that matchup. I think the Bears D-line can get the best of this Raiders offensive line when it comes to rushing the passer, but the Bears are allowing over 5 yards per carry. If there's ever time for an Ashton Jeanty game, it is now. Jalen Johnson's on IR. TJ Edwards is questionable. Kyler Gordon is questionable. Grady Jarrett is questionable. Those are literally all 4 of their best defensive players, and one of them is on the IR. Not ideal for this Bears defense. I think this Raiders offense is going to have a lot of success running the football. We're finally going to see Ashton Jeanty break out a little bit. The Bears are allowing 5 yards, 5 yards a carry, over 5 yards a carry on the ground. Jeanty breakout coming. He's looked good. It's just there really hasn't been a lot of room for him to work with. Not a lot of chances for him to get to the second level and make guys miss, but I swear that guy already has 99 trucking, so he gets 1 a game. And I like Jeanty. I like the Raiders in this game. I think as of now, I'm more confident in Geno Smith's ability to play quarterback than Caleb Williams. They have the better coach in Pete Carroll. They're at home, and they are healthier. The Raiders haven't had a run game, but the Bears allow over 5 yards a carry. So I like the Raiders to cover the spread against the Chicago Bears. You can get either team as an underdog depending on what book you are looking at. I also like Ashton Jeanty over 64.5 rushing yards against the Bears defense. That's very susceptible to the run. They allow over 5 yards per carry. Potential ladder on Jeanty's yards and the longest run, and I'm going to take his longest run depending on how I do for college football Saturday. Okay, Packers at Cowboys. The Packers have the best pass defense in the league, only allowing 4 yards per pass attempt, and the Cowboys' passing attack doesn't have CeeDee Lamb. So let's not overthink this. You take the Green Bay Packers in the Micah Parsons revenge game on Sunday Night Football at -6.5. The Cowboys' offensive line has actually been better than I thought they would be. All of the young Tylers, but they are. I'm pretty sure they're a starting guard, their rookie guard they drafted out of Alabama. Was it Alabama or Ohio State? I don't remember. But the starting guard, I think, was questionable. Let me double check that, actually. That's poor podcasting. Either way, it doesn't matter. Healthy or not, actually, it doesn't matter. This Packers defense is too good for this Cowboys offense to be competitive without CeeDee Lamb. The Cowboys' defense is an absolute joke, and the Packers have a plethora of weapons that they can attack this secondary with. If it's Dontavian Wicks, if it's Matthew Golden, if it's Tucker Kraft, it doesn't matter. They're going to get after Trayvon Diggs, who looks horrible. Kaiir Elam is horrible. This whole Cowboys secondary is a joke. They're allowing 9 yards per pass attempt, the lowest in the NFL by a good yard, which is a lot when you're considering it's averaged out. So the Cowboys' pass defense is a joke. They're without their best receiver. Yeah, it's just like it's a tough spot. The Packers have so many weapons to choose from against the Cowboys defense that is not only allowing 9 yards per pass attempt, but they're bottom 5 in the league in sacks. They are a bad team with a good quarterback that doesn't have his best receiver going against a top 3 team in the NFL. The Cowboys are fucked. Packers -6.5 all day. And I love Tucker Kraft over 39.5 receptions. Okay, Sunday Night Football, best player props. Jake Ferguson over 49.5 receiving yards. He had like 10 catches in week 2 after CeeDee Lamb went down. He's second in tight ends and receiving yards. He's second in the NFL in receptions. There's no question about it. This is Dak Prescott's safety blanket now that CeeDee is out, especially over the middle of the field. I think Ferguson's going to be a busy man. The Cowboys are going to be playing from behind as well, and Dak's going to need to get the ball out fast. No better player to get the ball out fast to than Jake Ferguson. And then Tucker Kraft over 39.5 receiving yards. That is a way too low of a total against the Cowboys secondary. That is horrible. They're allowing 9 yards per pass attempt. That's by far the worst in the NFL. Tucker Kraft over 39.5 receiving yards is free money. I love both tight ends to go over their receiving yardage total on Sunday Night Football. The only way Tucker Kraft couldn't hit is if the Packers just blowing them out, that they run the football down their throat just to ice the game out. But I think the Cowboys and Dak won't go down without a little bit of a fight. But I like the Packers to cover. Kraft over 39.5 receiving. Ferguson over 49.5 receiving. So let's go over all of my picks, all of my plays for this weekend one more time. We'll start with We'll start with yesterday's portion of the episode. So we started in Dublin. I have the Vikings covering 2 points. If Jaden Daniels plays, I like the Commanders. If Mariota plays, I like the Falcons, whatever the points are. Bills minus 15.5. And then my favorite play is Lions minus 9.5. That's a 2x unit play. If Christian Gonzalez plays, we're taking the Patriots. If he doesn't, we're taking the Panthers. And if he doesn't play, we're also going to take a bunch of Ted McMillan props. Give me the Giants to cover the spread and then a half unit on the Giants money line. I think this is a tough spot. I've already gone on about how I like the Giants. Cam Scadaboo over 54.5 rushing yards. Jackson Dart over 31.5 rushing yards. I said that yesterday. The line's already up to 34.5. So get those lines in. Get the player prop bets in as early as possible because those lines only go up as we get closer to kickoff. I like the Texans to cover 7.5 against the Titans. I like the Bucks to cover over 3.5 or cover 3.5 against the Eagles. I like the Bucks and Eagles to go over 43.5. Let's get into the 4 o'clock slate, or we'll start with 8:30. I like the Packers minus 6.5. I like Tucker Kraft receiving yards, Jake Ferguson receiving yards as well. I like Ashton Jeanty over rushing yards, and if I do good on Saturday, I will also be betting. I will just ladder his rushing yards probably up to 100, and then I'll take his longest run, which is at 15.5 right now. That's only if I do good on college football Saturday. Bears Raiders. I like the Raiders minus 1.5. I like the Niners against the Jaguars at minus 3. I like the Chiefs plus 2.5. I love Xavier Worthy's receptions laddered and his line straight up. And I like the Ravens against the Chiefs. I forgot to say, it's Devontae Adams over 65.5 receiving yards as well. Those are all the plays for Sunday. Subscribe, follow, use code DSOC on sports on propspot.ai. Use it for a week. You get it'll show you this algorithm that takes into account every single metric you could imagine and will give you the best bets for NFL Sunday. Use code DSOC for a week free trial of propspot.ai. Download that app right now. Use my code. Make sure you drop a like on the video, subscribe, leave a few fire emojis in the comment section to help the algo out a little bit, the algorithm. Thank you, everybody. Subscribe.